Hey YouTube! I recently had a schizo freakout on my stream a few days back, and during it, I was actually talking about this concept called reactive versus proactive jungling. Now, I know this is something that a lot of you probably never heard of before, and during my rant, I guess, I don't think I actually explained properly what it was, and because of it, a lot of people have the wrong idea of what I was trying to get at. So I thought I'd just make a video today to kind of explain what exactly proactive versus reactive jungling is, so that you guys can have a better understanding of the jungle role as a whole, and also a better understanding of, I guess, like my idea if you had the wrong one. So let's get into it. Reactive jungling is assessing the information that you have on the map and then making a defensive play based on it. Proactive jungling is assessing the information you have on the map and making an offensive play based on it. So they're kind of like the same thing, except one of them is you take more of an aggressive route to winning games, and the other one is more of a defensive route. So how would this manifest? Imagine, for example, this is our map of Summoner's Rift. It's the game we're playing. Imagine that we are blue side and we have 6 jungle camps up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I want you to think that let's say we know that the enemy's raptors are going to be respawning in 1 minute. And our mid laner is shoved in and they have priority mid. The difference between reactive versus proactive jungling is that a reactive jungler would look at this game state and say, yay, I get to full clear. So they would look at this game state, they would say, okay, I'm going to start on my blue, I'm going to path downwards, and the fact that I have mid prio will allow me to just get my full clear off uncontested. That's not a bad play to make. I never said that this is a bad thing to do. Why? Because it's consistent. Every single game, you are guaranteed to get your camps, so by always playing for your camps, you get 100 gold each, right? Over the course of the game, this stacks up, allowing you to maybe put yourself in a position where you can carry based off the amount of gold and XP you have. However, there is an issue with it. Because imagine the enemy jungler walks out of base, right? And they decide to gank mid, right? And when they gank mid, you're on your raptor camp or your red buff, whatever, and then your mid laner dies. Now the mid matchup is swung in the enemy's favor, and then they use this mid prio to get dragon, right? The thing is that if you have a reactive playstyle, right, then you would look at this situation and you would say, oh, enemy ganks mid, all I can really do is full clear my camps, and then if the enemy gets dragon, then at least I get to like counter invade his like top side, right? So it's like you're playing a very reactive game where you're looking at what the enemy jungler is doing and you're trying to find the best sequence of events afterwards that allow you to maximize the amount of gold that you can gain based off that. This playstyle has an issue for a few reasons. The first reason is because if you have 3 losing lanes, you're condemned to lose. You can't outcarry 3 losing lanes because with a reactive playstyle, you only have enough gold generation, right, to sit there and maybe tread water. And if the enemy jungler is getting his laners fed, right, and he's being proactive on the map and doing all these things, then you're just gonna lose. And it's as simple as that. So now the question, right, would be, what would a proactive player have done? Well, I'll tell you. Proactive player would have looked at this game state, right? And they would have said after their topside clear, they go for an invade on the enemy's raptors, right, as they spawn. What does this accomplish, right? It makes it so that first off, you're using your mid laner's prio to deny the enemy jungler from camps. If the enemy jungler tries fighting you on this, right, assuming that you guys are stronger, then all of a sudden, you guys have a winning position where now you're taking 2v2s and these things that help you excel your lead. And then you're also making it so that by proxy, you're covering your mid laner's push and you're using it to your advantage, right? And you're making it so that he's not open to losing his lead because of it, right? So this is the reason why where at the highest level of play, right? Highest level play. You'll notice that junglers always play in a proactive style. And sure, I'm not saying that reactive jungling can't get you to high rank, right? There are many well-respected players who have hit even rank 1 with a reactive playstyle. But the issue is, right, that a reactive playstyle can only get you so far. By properly understanding proactive jungling, you can turn yourself into a jungler that can use both, right? Because the beauty of proactive jungling is that you're not just taking flips and inting, you're taking educated fights based off risk reward that, if you're a good enough proactive jungler, will always be working out in your favor. So this is the reason why I always vouch for it, because reactive playstyles, right, reacting to what the enemy team does, sure, you can sit there and you can get better with that playstyle, right? Sure, you can sit there, you can have a good win rate, you can have you can climb ranks, you can do all these things. But when you can properly utilize proactive jungling, then you can choose when to be proactive or reactive, and you don't ever have to sit there and one trick a certain playstyle. So what this does is it makes it so that if you, right, do some games proactive, some games reactive jungling based off your lane states, then you can actually sit there and maximize the amount of games that you can win, right? So for example, take this same situation, 6 camps respawning, but now imagine that it's the enemy mid laner that's shoving in, right? In a case like this, if the enemy mid laner is shoving in, would you ever invade the Raptors? Of course not, because you're not going to win that. So what would you do instead? Well, you might either look to finish a full clear, right? Or if you're worried about getting invaded, then after Wolf Camp, then you can look for gank mid. What I've always been trying to get at with the whole proactive versus reactive jungling debate is that there are many ways to win games. There are. League of Legends is a game where there are billions of champion combinations, millions of item combinations, like all these different facets that make it so that the difference between, like, let's say you have a winning top early, right? And you decide to do a 3-cam towards top into a dive rather than just full clearing bot to top. And now because you got a dive off, right? Your top laner just 1v9s the game. You see what I'm getting at? So it's like, when you're sitting there and you're using proactive jungling properly and you've mastered it. Now, I'm not saying I've mastered it. I don't think I'm anywhere close. But I think that if you as a player can master this playstyle, you can win infinitely more games than you would be able to by just reacting, right? And again, the reason why is because with all these millions of avenues to winning a game, right, there are defensive and then there are offensive playstyles. And if you're always taking kind of like a defensive route and you're not really putting the pressure on the enemy and you're only really ever punishing their mistakes, you will get into some games where the enemy team doesn't make mistakes. And if they don't make mistakes, then you're kind of just waiting to lose, if that makes sense, right? So that's the reason why you always want to sit there and you always want to actually assess situations, find ways that you can maximize your profit as a jungler based off like the lane state and the map state, right? And all these kinds of things. Because the truth is that becoming the highest level jungler, right? If your goal is to become the literal best, and I'm not just talking about like rank 1 or a guy who wins like world's finals, right? Because all of these people still have room to improve. If you want to actually become the literal best, then when you look at the jungle, it's not about looking at the camps. It's not about looking and saying, hey, there's 12 jungle camps. How can I farm these in a sequence where I maximize my gold? No. The highest level junglers are able to assess the entire map. They're able to look at what their teammates are offering them. They're able to sit there and they're able to use what their teammates offer them to their advantage. And that's how you can win the most amount of games, right? And then I'm going to, of course, have people who are going to say, but Dantes, doesn't your playstyle kind of rely on teammates? And admittedly, yes, it does. But the thing that you have to understand about League of Legends, right, is that it's a team game, right? At the end of the day, as much as we might hate it, it is a team game. And if you have teammates that are all losing, you're never going to win that game by sitting there, forsaking everything, and just saying, fuck it, I'll full clear, right? In situations like that, you'll have to kind of bite the bullet and say, you know what? I have to help my team. I have to put a little bit of trust in my team. And this is another reason why I love the idea of proactive jungling so much, right? Because putting trust in your teammates is unironically a form of skill expression, right? Because you can sit there and you can say, okay, I have this player that I want to play off of. And then if you try making him play with that player and he doesn't do what you wanted him to do, right? Then afterwards you can say, I'm not going to play off this player anymore. So because League is an ever-evolving game, right? And your teammates are always different people and all that kind of stuff, it makes it so that you have skill expression with how you react to what your teammates do, right? How you react to what the enemy team decides to do and all that kind of stuff. So it really is like you're playing the game as a whole rather than just as like one singular role, right? And I think this is the best way to truly master the role, right? Because if you can sit there and you can master, proactive jungling to a level where you're able to understand risk reward, where you're able to sit there and understand when should I invade, when should I not. Because me, for example, right, I'm a big, adamant talker of proactive jungling, but even me, sometimes I greed. Sometimes I make the wrong play. Sometimes I'll overstay, right? Sometimes I go for one more camp when I shouldn't. Sometimes I go for a gank when I shouldn't, right? And then that fucks up my game. But it's because I'm still learning, right? I'm not perfect at it. I'm not anywhere near. But what I'm saying is that if you actually commit yourself to learning this jungle style, then you're in this state where the jungle is an ever-evolving role, where every mistake is just a lesson, right? And not a lesson in the sense of like, oh, well, I trusted my team this game and we lost. Like, no. A lesson in the sense of, well, this was a mistake because I greeted. This was a mistake for this reason. This was a mistake for that reason. So even though you're putting trust in your teammates, right, you're still finding ways that you can improve, right, based off, even if you might get inted here and there, right? Because to actually play in the highest elo, there are going to be some games where you have 3 autofills. You have 4 autofills, right? And if you're just playing for your full clears and all this stuff, you have maybe a 10% chance to win. And that's the reason why I love the idea of this jungling style so much, is because by actively playing to deny the enemy jungler, you're making it so that you can be the jungler first on the map at all times. Does that make sense? You can be the one who's impacting the lanes, who's doing all these kinds of things, and it makes it so that since you're the one impacting and you're denying the enemy jungler, when you're able to, of course, because you can't do this every game, right? You're limited by what your teammates offer you. You're limited by what the champions locked in offer you, right? But when you can use it to your advantage, then it is literally the most broken style of jungling there is nowadays, right? And listen, I know recently I might have, had insane ego or whatever else. I know that some of you guys have been like commenting on it, and honestly, it's just because I sit there and when I feel really strongly about something and when I feel really strongly about some kind of game style or some kind of thought or some kind of logical conclusion that I come to, then it just kind of takes over, And that's why, at the end of the day, right? Should I be flaming other people? No. Should I be going after other people? No, of course not. What should I be doing instead? Well, I should be learning how to perfect my jungling style and then showing everyone what it's actually capable of. Today we're starting the day Korean Grandmaster, and my only goal, right, is going to be to purely focus on my own gameplay and then see how far we can take it. Because I'm a true believer, and some of you guys might think that I'm coping when I say this, but I'm a true believer that if I actually sit there and play every single game the way it should be played, right, that I could easily hit rank 1 Korea. I could easily get 2 Challenger Korea accounts. And recently, lack of sleep has kind of been messing with me because I've only been able to get 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, whether it be because of stress, whether it be because of caffeine, whatever it might be, right? So, I don't know, maybe I'm having a bunch of paranoid delusions, But anyways, so I just wanted to make this video to kind of assess things because I know that a lot of you guys might have been thinking, was this guy mentally okay? But just know that I am. It's just that I have, a new way of looking at the game, and I think it's a very good way of looking at the game. And all I can hope is that I play well enough that I'm able to prove to you guys just how good my style of playing actually is. So with that being said, hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Hope you guys all enjoyed this kind of talk on the jungle role and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hopefully I'm right, and we'll see what ends up happening. But with that being said, hope you guys have a great one, and I'll see you for the next upload. Peace.